Welcome back to Uplink. I'm Andrew Hamilton.
I am Royden Ogletree.
And I swear we record this weekly.
Absolutely, we didn't mess up last time. Peek behind the camera, we literally recorded an entire show that was supposed to air maybe 2 weeks ago now. And
one wrong button and it didn't
literally happen. Nothing was on camera. It's really incredible. And so this week we have a whole range of topics, some serious topics, but of course we are going to joke around and talk about some other stuff that interests us, but some very serious topics to start off. Go ahead, what are we talking about? We're talking about the video game industry as it pertains to Ukraine and Russia, the crisis going on there right now. Like I said, serious topics, so let's start off there.
Yeah, so unfortunately, as I'm sure everyone is aware, Russia on February 24th of this year decided to invade Ukraine, throwing that whole country and then the entire side of the world and the rest of the world, honestly, into a massive tailspin, and throwing a bunch of the industry as a whole into a significant hole that they are having to dig out and work around. A lot of people probably don't know this, but Ukraine is like the third largest European developer. It's been one of the fastest growing European developers over the last 5 years. You probably know the titles from that area, like the Metro series. You probably know the Sherlock Holmes games that came out of that area.
They're not responsible for the new Sherlock Holmes game.
No, they're responsible for the ones that are like, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe them. They're third-person action mystery ones.
Okay.
They're pretty good too. So yeah, there's been a lot of turmoil in that area, and so we're going to kind of talk about what Ukrainian developers are having to do and what different publishers and developers have pledged to do or have already done.
We're also going to talk about what's going on in Russia as far as the industry goes, and I didn't even know that piracy concerns.
Yeah, they just hit the crazy button over there, and they ain't planning on stopping anytime soon, apparently.
Let's start there, and we can go more into how people are trying to help help the Ukrainian gaming industry. But the Russian piracy thing is astounding, because I don't even know where to begin. But basically, they legalized being able to just pirate software if it's not available in Russia.
Yeah. So essentially, and this is, I wouldn't say they legalized it. They extremely loosened the regulations on copyright, basically allowing for anyone to steal any kind of media, in particular from businesses that are on the sanctions list. Anything that's been listed from this side of the world that has placed sanctions on Russia as a whole. So that includes things like movies, books, video games, patents. So you can just steal someone else's patent and make that and then make money off it, and in Russia there would be no legal repercussion for that.
Yeah, because basically they said, oh, if it's not available in Russia, or there is not a Russian alternative to it.
If you're going to pull out of Russia, we're just going to start making Russian knockoffs, which, I mean, let's be real, they were already doing that. But, now...
Allegedly.
Now there's I don't know, the Russian International Russian League of Russian Soccer.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, video games are actually, it's a huge base in Russia. What I didn't know, the article that Andrew sent me, that it's a $3.4 billion industry in Russia that is now not shut off because EA decided, we're not going to really.
So EA did pull out of a lot of stuff, but they didn't pull out of overall sales. The thing that they cited was logistics errors and problems, which is, let's be real, kind of BS. I don't know the logistics side of things, but I can imagine that if Sony and Microsoft and Square Enix and Activision Blizzard and Ubisoft, and just insert any other company name here, not over this logo, but down here, can pull out of Russia, no problem, really no questions asked, then you can do more than just ban them from playing FIFA and NHL, because that's not enough. I will say that FIFA makes quite a bit of money in Russia, but they're not banning the sale of FIFA or Ultimate Teams. They just aren't allowed to compete in the esports.
Take away FIFA, you may have a full-scale riot on your hands.
Yeah, you don't mess with
you don't want to mess with FIFA
soccer in
Europe
or Russia.
It'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with that. Most of these companies, except for I think drug companies like Johnson & Johnson and other major drug corporations have pulled out. I mean, in the drug corporations, like them or not, they do have a priority to try and keep selling products to people, but the video game industry,
not so much.
They ain't making they ain't making life-saving drugs. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there with that and if they kind of put their foot down on that. But go into what you were talking about, the support for Ukraine and their industry, as well as it's interesting now that we've kind of sanctioned Russia and done all these things and we're not using Russian imports. You were saying Russia is like a huge exporter of these minerals that we need.
It's not Russia that is though. I mean, they do have quite a bit there as well, but it's the main problem that came from a lot of the issues is that as far as like neon that is used in a lot of chips and stuff for computer parts. Ukraine is like one of the largest producers of neon in the world. And so they're expecting severe supply shortages because no one's currently exporting neon there. And so it's going to cause the backup on the shortages to go longer. But I mean, so like the support across the board has been pretty unanimous from day one. You saw lots of developers reaching out towards their Ukrainian counterparts, pledging, stand by them, pledging money, offering aid to the correct, charities, and then it's just kind of escalated from there to Microsoft and Sony pulling out entirely out of that market, Nintendo halting all sales there, Activision Blizzard halted all sales both of their games and in their games, so they even halted their microtransactions in games, which, if you know.
But this is in Russia, you were saying?
Yeah, this is in Russia, in response to everything. And if you know Activision Blizzard, you know that for them to turn off the microtransactions, it's got to be very serious.
We've talked about that several times on this show, where it's like,
hey, Activision,
they will sell you.
Talking about you again, but it's a good thing this time.
You did well.
You did one good thing.
Look at that.
We'll count it. For now. I don't want to talk about you anymore, though.
No, but so unanimous support from, like you've seen from a lot of industries. We were just saying, but stopping sales in Russia is a huge step forward. EA, we're looking at you like we just said, but how far will this go in, helping them get back on their feet, or these developers get back on their feet, or what?
So
what's kind of the contingency plans here?
Right now, there's been a lot of support for like the general whole of Ukraine. I imagine that going forward, and obviously, these companies aren't going to want to talk about this right now because they don't want to seem like bigger things going on. They don't want to seem like they're eyeing property or whatever. But I imagine, companies like EA and Activision or Microsoft and Sony are probably eyeballing which Ukrainian developers are going to need help, and if the best solution to help them is to buy them out and support them as part of the wholesale family of their brand.
Eventually that would probably make a lot of sense in the long run.
There's going to be a lot of companies that are going to be on really hard times where just adding financial aid may not be enough to save what they were trying to make.
Right. And don't get us wrong. You have a lot larger things to worry about in Ukraine than a video game industry. But it is interesting when you have such a huge industry there that now is going to have to make wholesale changes. It'll be interesting to see how they adjust to that.
It's cool to see that, despite a lot of the kind of rivalry and back and forth between stuff, when the chips are down, most every part of the industry comes together to support the industry as a whole. Developers support developers, publishers support publishers during these hard times. I mean, it's kind of almost heartwarming. I know it's the least that they can do, and it's kind of the only thing that they can do.
Right.
But seeing like Square Enix donate, or not Square Enix, Bandai Namco donate $848,000 to the Children of Ukraine Foundation that helps kids get out of Ukraine right now. Seeing that kind of effort put forth to make a difference is unique. It's not something that we see very often during tragedy from the game industry unless it directly affects like
their bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this does, but it's also just, you can tell there's kind of a bit more to it this time.
Yeah. So moving on to some other news. Do we want to talk about how you spent like 3 hours on a game call today?
No, I don't want to talk.
We don't want to talk about that.
There's nothing. All right, I mean, I guess I can mention.
Only to not answer any questions.
Yeah. Basically.
That had to stink.
Yeah. There's just a. It's not important. I sat around for 3 hours waiting to ask EA if they were planning to pull out of Russia, and then they were just like, "Yeah, we'll take questions at the end," and then they didn't. So it is what it is.
That's a big yikes for you, though, too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I was really hoping that I would.
That's so long.
Yeah, it was 3 hours, man.
That's like a Batman. You sat there for an entire Batman.
Yeah, it was a whole Batman. It was a whole Batman of a thing, man.
It
was Batman,
man. What was the other stuff that we were going to cover? We were going to cover video game movie news that we totally haven't talked about.
We'll get to that next, but before that, I'll just cover some of this week's news. So, also this week, GTA 5 for the 9 billionth time got re-released. This time for the next-gen consoles, and I bet you thought it was going to be free because the game came out in 2013.
Why wouldn't it be?
You're wrong, and you're stupid for believing that. Because the game actually costs $40 for the single player. If you're on PlayStation 5, you're in luck. You get the online mode for free. If you're everywhere else, you can just go fall in a ditch because it's $20, bro.
$20 to play online for a thing that people have been playing online for
$50.
Haven't they been playing online for free this entire time? Since when did GTA Online release? Like 2015?
Yeah, so GTA Online has been a free part of, I mean,
free is
some people will argue
used.
that because you had to buy the game, it can't be free, but that's, shut up. You know, it's, yeah, so you've had people playing online in GTA Online since 2015, 2014.
Took forever to launch, too.
It was
they said, oh, we're going to have GTA Online, and then there was...
Yeah, I think it was about 6 months after the launch.
It was tough.
It might have been a little earlier than that. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on anything. I'm wrong.
Those early days were rough for GTA.
Never quote me.
And it's still the wild, wild west on that game.
Yeah,
but
well, it's just now it's a lot worse for newcomers.
But to say now a game that you're going to just now have to repay for, a game that's now 7 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny, and you see this all the time online, that people are like, you know, across the last 3 generations of consoles, or prior to like the PlayStation 3, we had 3 GTAs, and GTA 5 got 3 generations of consoles.
Yeah,
because it released on the PS3 and the Xbox 360, and then the PS4 and the Xbox One and the PS5 and the Xbox.
My first version of GTA 5 was on. I have a photo that was on Xbox 360, and I had to delete all the space off of my Xbox 360 to download that one game.
Classic.
Yeah, and so it is interesting that they're still doing that, and not only that. Now we're just going to re-release all of like Vice City and everything, which is fine.
That has a nostalgia factor at least, you know, somewhat. But they botched it, so it doesn't matter because those remasters were awful. They did not do a good job, which you would think just make it the same again but prettier.
Yeah, like they did with the Tony Hawk's games.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean they did build that one from the ground up technically, but.
Do it again. Yeah. I don't know how this works. I'm an idiot. But the thing is, just having to
hit the do it again button.
Hit the do it again button. Do the same thing, but different. The thing that really is just gets on my nerves with that is just, yes, they've announced that they're working on a GTA 6, correct?
Yeah, but it's still
that's going to be 5 years away.
Yeah. So it's been 9 years since. Is that right? Yeah, 9 years since GTA 5 released.
I think it was 19 when the first game came out.
Yeah.
Or when GTA 5 came out.
I was an unspecified age.
Right. Now I'm old and my hair is falling out. All because of Rock. I'm kidding.
I got fat because of GTA.
Because of Rockstar. No, and obviously they give us these great games, and and Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the greatest games I think that's ever been built from the ground up.
Yeah.
And obviously it's an incredible game. GTA 5 is an incredible game, but slapping more price tags on this thing over and over and over again.
It easily could have been a free upgrade, and there's no reason it shouldn't have been. But, you know, Rockstar has, if nothing else, proven themselves, and this, maybe not even Rockstar isn't even the best, you know, descriptor. 2K, as a publisher, has proven themselves, 2K? No, it's Take-Two.
2K has microtransactions, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Who owns Rockstar? Is it Take-Two?
So yeah, Take-Two Interactive has proven what?
Yeah, so Take-Two Interactive has proven themselves, if nothing else, to be a very, I want to say greedy, but they are reliant on the whale philosophy of microtransaction, which if you're not familiar with, is the philosophy that as long as you have high spending players who will entice the lower spending players to spend some of their money on higher end products to catch up to these players that have a lot of expendable income, then that market can perpetually go forever, and you can keep raising the prices on in-game items to increase the amount of money that people will buy from the marketplace. They've been doing it for years. That's why you talk about inflation. Go look at the payouts versus the cost of a lot of things in GTA 5's online mode. It's not been kind.
Plus that game now, and you know, people enjoy it, and it makes for some funny videos on TikTok or Facebook. But its modification just abyss on that thing. It is crazy. If you haven't seen it, and I feel like you know what I'm talking about, where it just, all right, now everything, it feels like the old cheat codes, but you just do that throughout an entire open world.
Yeah.
And everyone does it, and you're playing with people that are doing it at the same time as you. It looks like hell.
And there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. They still have a really bad problem with griefing, where players just follow other players around to kill them just to make them not have fun.
I played Red Dead Redemption 2 online one time. I got to the first mission, somebody shot me in the back of the head, and I never played it again.
We had a group of 3 guys follow me, Robbie, and a few other guys for like 45 minutes or something, just killing us every couple minutes. They would find us immediately.
It's not fun.
And there's no way to not have that happen. So that's not fun. I don't
now you
like
got to pay $20 for that.
And there's the argument but that's what freedom in video games. No, I don't. Look, I paid a lot of money to play this game just like you did, and I deserve to have just as much fun as you. And if your fun tramples on mine, then I want to be able to go somewhere else.
Well, that's the thing, though, too, is that we've talked about this before on the show, is that literally, I mean, PS5 is sold pretty well for the consoles that they do have, but there's still a large group of people playing PlayStation 4.
100 million PS4s in the world.
Yeah, so they're still going to make a good chunk of change off of that because people are going to rebuy it.
Yeah, but you don't have to rebuy it for the PS4. It's only a rebuy for the PS5.
Oh, I lied. Never mind.
So, because it's a next-gen upgrade. It only counts if you're going to next-gen, which makes it even more confusing because why wouldn't you want to bring that high-spending audience over for free and then just have them continue to spend high? But I guess they did for the online, but only if you're on PS5, which is insane. Anyway, we got to move on from this subject. I could talk about that all day, though.
This makes my blood pressure rise. What's going to make a lot of Halo fans' blood pressure rise is that the early reviews for the Halo series is in, and it's on Paramount Plus. It's going to be their kind of market.
It's out on the 24th of this month, so next week.
Their huge anchor show that they're betting a lot of money on, that they have
so much money.
Spent a ton of money. If you don't know, Halo as a film or TV franchise has been in production purgatory or production hell for years.
Yeah, they announced the first version of it. Well, we first heard rumors about it in 2012, but they announced the first version of it in the same year that they announced the new version, the new Xbox One at the time.
Yeah, Neil Blomkamp, who did District 9, was...
No, he was attached to Aliens.
No,
Steven Spielberg was attached to this.
No, I promise you that he was going to make a Halo movie, and then all of a sudden he's like,
oh yeah, for the movie.
Yeah, for the movies, he was going to make a Halo movie, and they said, no, we can't sell you the rights to this. So he just made District 9, which is an incredible film all on its own.
Right.
So that was dating back all the way to the early 2000s.
Right.
Yeah, so this series has been all over the place. They've spent hundreds of millions, probably, of dollars making this.
They didn't publish an official figure, but I imagine it's very high.
Yeah. It's supposed to be one of the anchor series on the Paramount Plus network,
which was originally set for HBO, and then it was a Showtime, and then it got moved to, I don't even remember where the third place was, and then it ended up on Paramount somehow.
Yeah. So now early reviews are in, and what did you say the initial score is?
It's currently sitting at a critical reception of 5.7, which is not real great. A lot of people.
What is that according to?
That's from the Metacritic.
Metacritic, which tough rating review site, but it is just kind of an aggregate.
I said Metacritic. I meant Rotten Tomatoes.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Also, that's what IMDb says. Also.
5.7.
Yeah, it's not great. And obviously critics can differ from fans, so we'll see what the actual fan reaction is.
That's really all that matters.
Because the Sonic movie also was not popular with critics, but was popular with fans.
I enjoyed the Sonic movie.
Detective Pikachu was not super popular. It was like
70s.
Yeah, it was like 70s to low 80s, but was super popular with fans.
The Uncharted movie that just recently came out made hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah,
even though,
it wasn't really popular with either side, but also wasn't bad. So
yeah, we're in a weird place with video game to film adaptations.
They did just enough to make a franchise out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all you gotta do.
But with this, it has been much maligned, and the production of a Halo franchise of anything, movie or TV, has been in the works for so long that I am very interested to see how fans react to this, because as we know, Halo fans, very level-headed and not at all weird about their property.
Yeah, well, just gamers in general.
Yeah.
Not at all weird about the properties that they love. They definitely don't take personal offense to things being wrong, and thankfully all of them would never send a death threat to like a developer or studio or threaten any.
Yeah, no, that would never happen.
I've never seen it. It will never happen, and I don't believe in those things.
I'm very interested to see how it is, because there's so much lore that surrounds Halo to begin with. There's also like dozens of novelizations of Halo as well too.
It's weird because it seems from the trailers, I didn't get to go to a presser. They didn't invite me. They don't like me that much, I guess. But it seems to me from the trailers that I didn't ask to go, but that they are trying to do Halo 1, but also not do Halo 1. They want to have the Halo ring.
Yeah.
But they don't want to do the same story again. And this is the same problem that every video game
How much of it do we put into it?
Well, it's there, and I get this from an artistic standpoint. Directors and writers feel like if they just rehash what's already been done in the game, why would you go see the movie? Not understanding that for the gaming audience portion, that's what they want for the most part, at least for the first one.
Yeah.
You want to see the live action version of what is in there, not just the iconic shots, which is what, look at like Mortal Kombat from last year.
They didn't even do a Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, there was no Mortal Kombat. Pre-qualifiers combat at best.
Yeah.
But it's, they made sure to get the fatalities in there. They made sure to get, a joke about finish him. They made sure to get all that stuff in there. But they didn't make sure to get their story right enough to where it would include Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, there's a weird line that you have to balance. And I didn't hate the Uncharted movie that came out. A lot of it wasn't. There was some things that they left out, like the weird supernatural elements that they have in every single Uncharted game. They just completely left that out.
It's an amalgamation of the property also, but then ends in a place where it feels more familiar. But then it's like, okay, so you're gonna go do those other adventures now because
are we
taking all the stuff from those other things so you can have the iconic shots?
We took the iconic shots of him falling out of the plane and everything from 3.
The cross stealing from 4.
Yeah, so they took all of that stuff. They took Uncharted elements and built a unique story around it, which is fine. But so then now where do you go from there, do you just go to a place that Uncharted fans have never seen before? And
or do you start the first?
Yeah, or do you start the first game because it's a young...
we get to learn about, the Drake heritage a little bit and why he is obsessed with surfing.
Yeah, all the beginning of that movie is basically from Uncharted 4 too.
Right. Yeah.
Him and his brother.
Which is funny because Uncharted 4 famously just dropped in the fact that he has a brother all of a sudden. You're like, what? There's been no hint of that.
Yeah, and so with the Halo thing, it'll be interesting to see how much backstory they put in there, how much lore that they put in there, how much that they are faithful to the video games. I feel like I'm going to watch it and give it the benefit of the doubt. This doesn't seem like a franchise or a thing that critics were ever going to be super high on.
Well, yeah.
Now the fact that it's not even like fresh is kind of
I think there's two things to remember about this is that the whole series didn't get a review, just the first episode, just the premiere episode did. So we're only getting to see reviews for just the pacing and everything of that first episode. The number one complaint I saw from reviews was that the pacing of the story and the dialogue was a little clunky, but that the characters were likable enough and that the effects were well done. So
really what you got to do sometimes.
I mean, it's Ladybug.
So on top of all that, we talked about it last week in our Lost Tapes episode that we totally filmed and
it's there. It's
as well. Fallout is coming to Amazon.
Amazon is currently in production.
And
of a
Netflix
series.
is trying to do a BioShock, not series, which I think would work better, but
they're doing a movie.
A movie.
But they were specific to say that they were not doing BioShock the movie. They're doing a BioShock movie, which is different.
So Netflix is coming out with the BioShock thing.
Yeah, and it's going to be a movie. It's a BioShock thing, but it's not the BioShock. It is based on that series, but it won't necessarily be a retelling of the first game. I think that there's a lot of hope for all these projects. I think my real kind of test here for how well we're doing is, you had the writing staff and the creative director on set for all of the Last of Us show on HBO, which allegedly has been pushed back to 2023, but they haven't officially said that yet. But that show, I think, will be a good test to see if translating the games to this media can be done in a way that is effective as the games themselves. If the game can make me feel for the characters again, despite them not looking or feeling like the characters in the game, without butchering the storyline to introduce a bunch of new stuff so they can have new stuff so they can feel creative.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the thing, too, because The Last of Us is such a just iconic, almost feel like the closest that I think we've ever gotten to an actual movie inside of a brilliant game, but like it literally is a movie inside of a game.
And I don't know how you change things without messing up that.
Yeah, how are you going to do that with the flow and everything? And I'm glad it's a series because it is like a 30 hours of content that you play. Yeah. But it'll be
and the emotional parts aren't the gameplay. It's the interims, and I think that's what's going to be why I think this is going to be interesting. There is dialogue that happens between characters, but most of your interaction, your feeling for the other characters comes from these cutscenes that give you a little bit more. I mean, obviously you bond with Ellie as you go throughout the game, but you get a lot more of the context to the relationships and stuff through the cutscenes that they can basically just pull straight from. I don't want iconic shots. I don't need that. If you can do it better with a different shot, do that. But just tell the story the way it's meant to be told. Don't try to create a bunch of stuff to justify having an iconic shot for your trailer so that you can trick me into feeling like there's something worth seeing in this movie. Tomb Raider did it, Assassin's Creed did it, Uncharted did it. I don't want it. Don't put it in the trailer if it's not worth the payoff.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because the story is just so good on its own. It's just like, do we just recreate what we just did?
It's literally studied in writing classes.
Yeah, do we really just recreate and make it live action what we just did? That just makes
I think they have an amazing cast though.
And Pedro Pascal's attached to it.
You can't go wrong with Pedro Pascal.
And it's coming to HBO, so they don't have to pull any punches like they would with anything. It's not. I mean,
so much money on this.
Yeah, it's not going to go to Disney Plus, but like they, can you imagine? But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how far they go with the that and I don't know if we just recreate it from scratch, but I am interested to see what they can do with a Fallout thing, because Fallout's nothing. Fallout is whatever you want Fallout to be.
You only have to follow a loose structure of guidelines, and they're really more just suggestions, really. As long as it feels both retro and post-apocalyptic, I think you're good.
Thank you, Captain Barbosa, for that. I appreciate that. All right, that's all the news that I got.
Yeah, I don't have any more. Talk about releases real quick. So coming up here in the next week, we just had Final Fantasy Origins: Return of the Strangers on the Tides of Stranger Paradise. That's not the title, but the Final Fantasy
I will absolutely play for sure.
It's middling reviews. Apparently the combat's really good, but the story's not, and it's a slog. But next week we've got so much coming out. Oh my God, we've got Kirby, new 3D Kirby game coming out. We've got Ghostwire Tokyo, which we'll be covering in depth, and we will have a late night launch party stream, both from Dallas this coming weekend and of the actual gameplay up that night on Thursday night on the 24th. We'll be doing a live stream of the game. So you get some early looks at the game and get our early impressions and see all the fun magical stuff in that. But my God, my wallet hurts. So do my eyes.
I mean, I finished Forbidden West. So.
Nice. I also finished Forbidden.
You know what?
And
things are good.
I totally already wrote the review, and it's definitely already recorded, and I'm not behind. Why would I be behind?
For a game that's been out for 3 weeks.
So many games, and it's not like I had to play any other games or write anything else, or do a job or have kids. And I got 2 kids, and why would I? I'm fine. Everything's fine.
It's collapsing in front of our eyes. All right, for Andrew, I'm Royden. That's been Uplink.
Yep. For Uplink, I'm Andrew Hamilton.
I'm Royden Ogletree.
Be sure to subscribe to Hardwired for all the latest gaming news, previews, and reviews, and we'll catch you next time.